Hey everyone, thank you for tuning in for a new episode of Living 904. Today we joined by Kurt Stein, owner and home inspector for House Scan Inspections. Kurt's going to be talking today not only about home inspections and what you maybe need to know, but also starting a business and being creative and innovative in an industry that's not been those things in the past. So please welcome to the show, Kurt.
Hey Nick,
Hey,
how's it going, man?
good, man. How are you?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. So, we've known each other a while, kind of like similar circles. We've bumped into each other at plenty of events. And the first time I met you, I saw you do a presentation at a realtor office, and not knowing anything really about home inspections other than most people need to get them, I was really surprised how, I guess advanced you guys were and how you did things.
Sure.
So really, was excited to be able to have you on the show and talk about it. But how did you get started? Just where did your path start from to get you where you're at now?
Yeah, no, for sure. Good question. So yeah, my start was nothing related to home inspections. So um, if folks ask me, I normally start back a little bit earlier. So I'm not from Northeast Florida. I'm from Pennsylvania. I went to Penn State University. I got in.
Semi-decent school.
What's that?
Semi-decent school.
Yeah, no, good school. Good sports, good, everything up there. So really great school. I got an engineering degree from there, industrial engineering, and I started my career working for Kraft Foods. So had an internship with them. Ended up moving down to Jacksonville, Florida, which I had a couple of different options. I could move to like middle of nowhere in Illinois, West Coast, or Jacksonville. And for me, it was like a no-brainer between the options that I had. And so I ended up working at Maxwell House, downtown Jacksonville, at their coffee factory.
Nice.
And I did like engineering work there. I did continuous improvement work and ended up moving into operations. And when I moved into operations, that's when really I felt like I had hit like a niche, like something that I was really passionate about, loved doing. And then I had all of that like engineering experience and like, the mindset of how do we eliminate waste, improve processes, make things better for, the customer. So at that time, my customer was like my employees and, the business, and our ultimate like end customer who's opening the can of coffee and consuming it. So when I moved into that world, managing people, and it really just like it opened up my mind to like possibilities of what's out there, and I really just like loved it. I was super passionate about that work, and I loved working with people and improving things. So I did that for like 3 or so years when I moved into operations there. And I kind of worked up my way up the facility to where I was just managing my small department for that shift. And then over the years, they kind of got bought out by Heinz, and then they let go of certain positions, and everybody that was kind of left over took on more and more responsibility. And so when I left, I was managing pretty much the entire facility, all different departments for first shift, which was kind of like the flagship uh, or flagship shift, where there was the most responsibility and decision making, things like that. And I was a young kid, so like 25, 26 years old doing that, and just gained a ton of experience on how to run a business, how to work with people, how to solve problems, like all that good stuff. And then I ended up taking another position somewhere else as an operations manager. Kind of what it really was I was managing a smaller facility with less responsibility, and they were paying me a whole lot more money. So
the dream gig.
Yeah, it's kind of like a selfish move in a way. But so what happened there is they got bought out 30 days after I took that job. Their only competitor in the US, bought that company out, let go of every single person day one, and took all that equipment, moved it to their South Carolina facility, and me and a few dozen other people were all out of our jobs. So that was kind of like an eye opener
Yeah.
on, corporate world. They don't necessarily, a lot of times, unfortunately, you're just like a number,
Mhm.
in their world. Um, and so found another job very quickly that, I absolutely hated. I did that for 6 months. It was a startup food manufacturing facility. Uh, Two previous folks in my position lasted 6 months. It was just absolute nightmare. Worst 6 months of my life. And so that also kind of, you know, built me who I am today on like how not to treat people, how
Yeah.
not to run a business, all of those things, right? So I took a little bit of time off, traveled for a little bit. And then this is kind of where, that was a long-winded answer to how we got to home inspections. So um, I was out to dinner one night at Hawkers in Neptune Beach over there, and I was with my now wife, her whole family, and as you know, they're all kind of involved in real estate one way or another.
Yeah.
Brokers, real estate agents, lenders, you know, everything, right?
Yeah.
Um, and so the conversation started out kind of talking about home inspections, and everybody at that table had bought property before, including me, and there was a lot of like complaints, and so a lot of like pain points and
Mhm.
things that folks were saying. I didn't like this, and I didn't like that, and I didn't like this, and Steve, my wife's dad, basically looked over to me and he said, Kurt, I've been thinking about home inspections and starting other businesses for quite some time. Why don't you start a home inspection business? And I mean, it just like, light bulb just went on like, wow,
Yeah.
that's a great idea. Um, you know, Me with my experiences with my home inspections in the past, I thought that there was quite a bit of opportunity. Um, and so, yeah, basically, I wasn't working at the time. I was just starting to look for work again. And, I had put myself in a financial position to where I could start a company and, take a leap of faith. And if I
Yeah.
didn't make a dollar for, 6 months or a year, whatever it was, then I could survive. Right. And so that was always kind of like a dream of mine. And I took that leap of faith. I mean, I thought that there was a lot of opportunity there. Um, at that point, I had two rental properties, and so I was kind of had a little bit of money coming in, and I had a little bit of experience. A lot of like, I knew a lot of realtors and a lot of people in the real estate industry, and so it was kind of like a perfect fit.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you
yeah.
you
So
you were
literally a couple days
prepared.
after that. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah, I'm just
What's
saying you
that?
were prepared. I mean, a lot of people, when they start businesses, it just seems like, that we have the idea, the dream, but they don't think that far ahead. And you had the experience, I mean, the management experience, like you
Yeah.
said, but you were also prepared. Like you knew the reality before you of, jumping in. I think that's, something I think anybody starting a business, like, can I
Right.
not take a paycheck for 6 months,
Yep.
to start this out? So that's a huge, with starting anything.
For
So
sure. Yeah,
yeah.
and I didn't necessarily know home inspections and like the knowledge base that I know now or that I knew after getting licensed and certified. But what I did know was like the customer. I knew realtors, and living with one and dating Stephanie at the time. I
Yeah.
would hear her stories all the time, and her family and just the other realtors that I've met over the years. I kind of understood them, and I got them, and really, so yeah, what the first few steps to the whole process where it was just sitting down and it was kind of taking that list of complaints that we had from that dinner table, and it was like, okay, somebody had to write a paper check to give to their inspector physically at their at the inspection, yet they were on the other side of the country buying the property and they couldn't actually pay the person. That was a pain point, right? Another person said, the reports are very difficult to read, very difficult to look at. That was a pain point. The report, it took 3 days to get it back, and we're on a tight timeline with our inspection period. Just on and on and on, and literally had a list of like 20 items like that. And those first few weeks was really just researching how can we address each one of these and make that much better of an experience for the realtor and for the end customer. So for us, there's really two customers. There's the realtors that, we try to be on their list of 2 or 3 or 4 inspectors and at least have an opportunity to inspect a property for their client. And then it's who we're ultimately delivering the service to, which is the client. And obviously have to do a great job for them and, deliver all of those value add areas to give them a good, service. So, basically put together a service, kind of got lucky in a certain few areas. So like I said before, I knew probably 100 realtors before even starting this business. That is a huge piece in the home inspection world and probably in your world as a lender, just because, it's ultimately about relationships. And I know I see so many people starting a home inspection company. First of all, everyone thinks it's super easy, which is not. Starting any business is not easy whatsoever. And then, it's really, really difficult. And if you have those relationships up front, at least somebody will give you an opportunity to prove yourself. Whereas for a lot of folks, they never even get that opportunity.
It goes back to that saying, like your net worth is your network, and you had a network. And whether you intentionally planned it or not,
right?
It's a business principle, So with
especially in small business, there's no replacement for that, for sure.
Yeah. So now 2020 was a fun year, obviously, for all involved. COVID, changed a lot of industries. What's it been like for you and your team? Y'all been in business for a while, but I'm sure all of us, we were caught off guard.
Yeah. So let me touch on real quick, like how we got to last year. So started the business. It just took off immediately. We found software that was really great. Like I said, we put together all those pieces of our service that really provided additional value, and the service just took off. I could not hire and train fast enough in the first few years, and really up until this point. We just grew like crazy. So I think most inspectors do like 50 inspections in their first year on average. And I think I did close to 400. And and this year, third year in business, we just finished last year at 2,000 inspections. So
wow,
really crazy. How
long have you been in business?
Last year was our third year. So
wow.
We're a team of 8 now. We just hired our another inspector, so we'll have 8 total inspectors, and then we have a full-time office manager that takes all the calls and deals with all of that. It's been incredible, man. And last year was super interesting, eye-opening, scary. Just so much uncertainty. And what we saw was, and I know you guys probably saw this on the lending side as well, but just absolutely bonkers. How the market went from, crazy already to residential real estate was just so in demand. And, besides for that first month or two, once COVID really got through the media and was really spreading and once that initial hysteria went away, it was just we could not do the number of inspections that people wanted us to do. So a couple of things happened. We continued trying to hire and train and working our butts off weekends, taking 3 inspections in a day, which we don't normally do, and just squeezing them in everywhere we could. And then we also, we didn't want to do this, but we were forced to raise our prices throughout the year. So as we were turning down, 15 or 20 inspections in a week, we figured, look, we're upsetting people because we can't deliver on, within their time period. We're forced to raise our prices at this point. And we said that, once we would add enough inspectors and that demand kind of came, or either the supply went up or the demand came back down, we'd finally be able to bring our prices back down to normal, which we just did the first of this year. We kind of brought them back down to normal and dropped them about 10% across the board. So that felt good that we can kind of get back to normal. And and so things are going good right now.
Yeah, that's always got to be a scary thing. Any industry where you're raising your prices and it's kind of a double-edged sword to raise them to maintain your performance. Like,
For sure.
You kept that high standard. So, and that's got to be a scary thing, but
Yeah, because I mean, at the end of the day, it turned off some people, right? Like, I know that we probably lost some realtors that consistently worked with us, and they wanted to give their clients cheaper options, or their clients ultimately decide to go with a cheaper option, which I think in any industry that's going to be the case. You buy furniture, there's going to be higher end furniture, and there's going to be lower end. And in general, I hate this term, but I think in general you get what you pay for. And I know last year we were always booked out, 7, 8 days. And I just know that we do a great job for our client, add a lot of value. And if folks ask for a discount, it was pretty easy to respond to that, just because it's like, look, I mean, we're booked out, we're turning down jobs all day, every day. Unfortunately, we can't offer a discount at this time. So
yeah. So 2020 behind us, thank God.
Right.
What are you excited about for the next year? Yourself, your team.
Yeah, so we have big things planned for this year. We're at a point where we've gained quite a bit of market share in Jacksonville and Northeast Florida. I think we're probably doing 1 in every 10 or 15 inspections at this point.
Wow.
And so we're going to continue hiring some more inspectors here in Jacksonville. And then where it really gets exciting for me and a few folks on the team is at the end of this year, we're going to start looking into going into other markets. I think that we've put together a service and a product that's really valuable for the client.
Mm-hmm.
And we think that we can take somebody here that's willing, able, and capable of starting their own office and going to maybe Orlando or Tallahassee or Tampa, and pretty much copying and pasting what we've done here, with the marketing and the different things that we've done to differentiate ourselves, and just go, like I said, copy and paste it in a new market and see how it goes. We've got some really, really good people on our team that I think are capable of doing that. We'll see if they're willing to relocate and move their families, but we're going to continue hiring and in a sense putting pressure on the other inspectors. I mean, we want to keep dominating and taking market share, and just being able to provide the value that we do to more and more people. So
wow,
it's exciting. Like, this year is going to be a huge year for our business. Ultimately, we want to get to 5 different markets around Florida and doing similar to what we're doing in Jacksonville. So if we're doing 10,000 inspections in 4 or 5 years out, that's going to be pretty awesome.
That's fantastic, man. I look forward to seeing that. So, you've been in home inspection now for 3 years. You've probably dealt with a lot of things. What would be, whether it's, an individual who has no idea, what would be a common myth you want to get debunked for your industry?
Oh man, good question. So when you ask that question, my mind kind of goes back to that first dinner where we were talking about home inspections, and I don't know if it, the exact quote that was said, but somebody said, "Man, home inspectors are lazy, right? They don't look under furniture, and they don't do all this, and they won't climb in the attic and walk through the attic, and they barely could get under the crawl space, just like on and on." And I heard it so much the first 6 to 12 months starting this business, and it's just something that to everybody listening. I mean, I don't know if you or anybody else knows kind of how our team is made up, but generally, like, we're a pretty young team, pretty young and capable, and so basically our entire team, there's nobody that can't access an attic, or they can't crawl under a crawl space and get to the back of it and inspect the whole thing. But there's a lot of inspectors out there, and now there are standards of practice that basically outline exactly what somebody must do when they're performing a home inspection. And there's a lot of disclaimers and a lot of like things that somebody is not required to do. Yeah, you're not required to walk up and navigate an attic. If a crawl space opening is, smaller than a certain size, you don't have to get in it. Basically, anything that could be even the smallest safety risk for a home inspector, they don't have to take on that risk. So,
Right.
and we're very cognizant of that there are risks, and we won't take, unneeded risk if we don't have to. But like I said, we're young. Most of the folks can easily navigate an attic, and we do everything that we can to make sure that there's no surprises for clients. Obviously, sometimes things happen, and something might not get caught. But I know that the effort is 100% there, and that we're going to do everything that we can to get everywhere and check everything.
So, maintaining that high bar of just a little bit extra. I mean,
yeah. As far as like other myths go, gosh, there's a lot. A lot of people think that we can see behind walls, especially we use like infrared technology that we scan every single house. It helps find some things like moisture, missing insulation, things like that, but it's not going to identify some crazy things that some customers, they basically think it's an X-ray machine sometimes. Yeah. We don't do mold inspections. And so, a lot of times clients say, hey, just make sure you're, checking for mold. Well, mold is it's everywhere. Mold spores are everywhere. It's just a matter of, are they at levels that are problematic, and the type of mold spores that are in the air. And so if people want answers on that, they've got to go out and actually get a mold test. But there's a lot of things that we can do, to at least point them in the right direction and say, hey, you definitely need a mold test. This crawl space was super musty and very moist. Or open up the cabinetry and, there's mold. We could basically visually see mold. But as inspectors, we're not supposed to use the term mold since we're not licensed mold inspectors. But yeah, there's a lot of misunderstandings and myths around home inspections. One of the biggest probably is that inspections, we're going to tell somebody every single issue in their house. As much as we try to, and as much as we're going to spend every minute in that house trying to uncover every single issue, there are hundreds, if not thousands, of items to check in a house, and inspections in general just are not exhaustive. Like, you're going to move into a house and you're probably going to uncover some things that the inspector did not find.
Yeah.
Our job really is to inform you, and so that you can make a good decision, and really give you a good general idea of what's going on in that house. But as far as every single little issue, it's never going to happen. So,
no.
But yeah, we try to.
Yeah, like you said, you've bought a couple of homes before you were a home inspector. I've bought a couple of homes. And that list is a lot. I've passed on homes because I've gotten things, and it's just like, you know what? I don't want to potentially have to uncover that. But yeah, there's no potential, no end. And not even, you just can't always know everything.
Exactly. And that's, I think, the world of real estate, right? There's always going to be unknowns. Even with new construction, there's unknowns. There's things that happen and things that break and get damaged. There's a lot of moving parts in real estate, and that's why getting an inspection done, getting home insurance, buying a home warranty, all of those things reduce your risk, but all of those things aren't going to 100% reduce your risk. There's always going to be risk.
Yeah. No, and I've always found it, and even myself, and that's just, I think, ignorance, even if I'm in the real estate industry, but getting a home inspection on like a new home, any funny horror stories that you've ever experienced?
Oh, gosh, yeah.
Can you share, or is it like you need an NDA or anything?
So, we just passed 4,200 inspections, since we've got started, and lots and lots and lots of stories and crazy findings and scary stuff. And but new construction specifically, there's just, it's almost like every new construction inspection that we do, something comes up, whether it's roof leaks or plumbing leaks, or something that like a lot of times customers want to forego that inspection before they close on it, and it's almost always a bad idea. Or at least getting an inspection done before your 1 year warranty is up. And yeah, I mean, there's a ton of value added there. And it's a really good idea to get an inspection done pre-closing. So just one example that comes up is we had somebody, it was about a year ago, and I think it was right around Christmas time. And he had a job where he was traveling to, I think, Europe for like a month or so. And we came in and did the inspection before closing. And there was so many issues with this house. I won't say the builder. We never throw, builders under the table. But there's a few builders that tend to have more issues and tend not to take care of their clients as well. That's really what bugs me. I mean, construction defects and things like that is one thing, but when you deliberately try to like cover things up or smooth one over, or throw something under the rug to the client, that's when I do get kind of upset and annoyed with that. But this particular case, the client, we found all these issues. There was 50 or 60 items in the inspection report and several major items. And I mean, I don't think the house was really even close to being finished. Well, he said, I'm traveling for the next month for work. They basically conned him into closing before he left. And he came back and like nothing was corrected. And he had a moving truck there. It was ready to move in, and just all of these items hadn't been corrected. And so I forget exactly what happened, but we ended up doing like 3 or 4 inspections on that house. And I mean, it was just not a good situation for that client. And, it's something that I'll definitely keep in the back of my mind when, I'm talking through a situation with a client, and I might say that like, hey, this is a realistic thing that could happen. Once you pay that final check to the builder, it's a lot more difficult to get this stuff done. So I know that was like one that really stands out in my mind, but there's literally dozens, if not hundreds, of examples of things like that. And yeah, just really crazy findings. I mean, it always surprises me when we'll find roof leaks in a brand new house, but then again, it just doesn't surprise me. So
you've seen too much.
For sure.
Yeah. Now you've managed a ton of, management, operations. You've been in a lot of different roles. You started a business, and it's like you said, it's a competitive business. Whether it's price, market share, market presence. I mean, what advice would you give to like anybody starting a business? Even though you dropped some really amazing gems, but any advice you would give to anyone starting a business?
Sure.
Even your industry.
Yeah, I mean, I've certainly learned a ton in starting this business. There's a lot, so I could talk for days on business. It's something that I'm really passionate and fascinated by, is starting businesses, adding value, and delivering that value to clients. But a couple of things that kind of come to mind is I would say, like, if you're going to start a business, like, go for it completely, not halfway. Like, so for me, I know up until this point, really just a few months ago, when I was able to finally get most of the work outsourced to where I'm not really involved much in the day-to-day a ton anymore. I mean, I am, but not to the point that I was, where it was working all day, every day. But I'd say, like, have your end vision in mind, and eat, sleep, and breathe it nonstop, until you get there. And I think for us, we were able to get there, and to this point in 3 years, and then the ultimate vision of being in several different markets. Hopefully we can do that in the next 3 or 4 additional years. And it just takes an incredible amount of work to do that. And yeah, if you're going to start a business, like, be ready to work, because a lot of people think, oh, I'm working for myself, I have time flexibility and all of that. And I just don't think that's the case. I mean, at the end of the day, the client is what matters the most for us. And we talk about it every single team meeting that we have, is like, the client is what matters. We really do have to take sacrifices and go above and beyond to deliver for them. And if that means, for me, that meant, when demand was crazy high, working straight through a weekend, working 3, 4, 5 weeks in a row without a day off. And I would be doing all of the proofreading on all of the other reports and working from 5 p.m. to midnight every night for the last 3 years.
Yeah.
And so it is a ton of work. And if you want to grow something and scale something, it's not easy. So make sure you're ready for it. That's one big point that I would say. The other thing I'd say, and I think we've done a great job, is just differentiating yourselves from your competition. And I know that we came in with an idea of being innovative, modern, and really just doing a lot of things that differently that add value to the client. So figure what those items are, and then market it super heavy, super strong towards your customers. So for us, I know in the first 6 months, we were just on everything, social media wise, flyers in offices, talking, meeting with realtors, we just totally blitzed the market. And it was kind of funny to over the years you meet other inspectors. And I just remember having several conversations where they're like, wow, I didn't even hear you guys. And then all of a sudden I see you absolutely everywhere. And that felt great for me, knowing that, we're everywhere, because that's essentially what marketing is. It's getting your message out to people and getting them aware of you so that they can give you a chance. And then once they do, hopefully they like your service and keep coming back.
Yeah. No, I mean, being, when you start, you were everything. You were the marketer, you were the inspector, you were the accountant and everything, and build a team to grow yourself out. But yeah, you got to be loud at the beginning. I liked, and I think it's simple, but when you started, you're like, you didn't look at, okay, we're going to focus on this price, or you just feel like, what are the pain points? And you address the pain points.
Exactly.
And that's where you ran to. And it was pretty simple for anybody at that point to, oh, well, this is why I should.
For sure. And I think, in most of our industries, there's a ton of competition. Price generally works itself out. So I think there's a lot of people that kind of get into a certain business or job or whatever, and they say, oh, I want to be priced at this level. Well, ultimately your service is going to dictate what, your service or your product is going to, in the market, is going to dictate what the price is going to be. So for us, we couldn't keep up with demand. Therefore our price had to increase if we wanted, some sort of equilibrium to occur, which that's back to economics 101 or whatever. The market ultimately dictates it. And for us, as we've been able to add more inspectors, that price is finally coming back down, which feels really good for us, just because we're far more competitive. We think at our current prices, there's nobody delivering as much value as we do. And our ultimate goal is to take market share and move into different markets. So for sure.
Now you've been in Jacksonville for how long?
Yeah, so I moved here in 2012. So it's been 8, 9 years now.
Okay.
So this is very much home. The business is here. Got, house and wife and dogs, and the roots are definitely placed. So this is home. I love it here. Really, for me, been thinking more and more about this, and just met with my wife the other day, and we had to sit down on what we really want out of life, and what kind of impact we want to make. And that was an incredible sit down to kind of put that all out on the table. And I think for me, it's going to be over the years transitioning into making more of an impact to Jacksonville, this city in general. So I definitely want to continue growing the businesses and then give back.
Yeah, that's great. What would you say, and we asked this of everybody on the show, is what would you say is the best kept secret of the 904 for you personally?
Oh gosh, that's a good
restaurant area.
I love the city. There's so much. The beaches are incredible. I think the St. John's River is a incredible, like, what diamond in the rough, and like just people, downtown. It's obviously like when I talk about passion about the city and like want to give back, I want to see this downtown a thriving place that young people want to move to and work and invest and live a great life. So I'd say, I mean, I think our downtown has so much potential to be this incredible place to live, work, and play. And that's what I would say. I'd say that's the biggest unkept or secret for our city.
No, that's actually really encouraging to hear because, grew up in the area. I mean, I've been going to downtown since I was, not even a teenager, and it's always been talked about in a negative light. For you to be like, I think that's just a great way to look at it. Like, yes, it can be great, and that's where you really want to see. And because me personally as well, like especially if we can get past what it used to be. So that's a great answer, man. Thank you.
Yeah, man.
What what would be a great way for anybody to connect with you, whether it's a business person wanting to start a business and get some opinions, or hey, get a home inspection? What would be the best way to connect with you?
Yeah, so a couple of things. So I'd say our Instagram is one of our biggest is our biggest presence. So we're always on there putting out good content, good tips and tricks for realtors and folks involved in real estate, crazy findings, all kinds of different things. So definitely check us out on our Instagram page. It's at House Scan FL. And so like FL like Florida. But yeah, that's a great way to connect with us. Send us a message. Our phone number is 904-758-9225. We have a ton of realtors and folks that just text us like pictures if they're doing a walkthrough or a showing with a client. They might say, hey, how old is this water heater? Or we saw this crack on this house. What do you think about it? Should it be a concern? Because they're not always concerns. And so, take our number. It's 904-758-9225. Text us, call us anytime. That's another thing that we try to do is just be available at all hours. A lot of inspectors out there that will only answer the phone between 9 and 5.
Yep.
And even then, they might not answer. But yeah, so between the phone number and the Instagram page, and then our website is just www.housescanfl.com. If anybody's looking for an inspection, you can schedule on there any hour of the day, 24/7. Super easy.
We'll put it all in the show notes. Kurt, thank you so much for your time. I know you're a busy guy, so I really appreciate you taking the minute talking to us.
This is my first podcast ever, so
nice. First.
Excited.
Yeah. Well, we will, so thanks for watching, everyone. Again, we will put Kurt's information. Fantastic guy, fantastic company. So thanks for listening.
Appreciate it, man. Take care.
Thanks. Bye.